Welcome to our deep dive into Telegram today.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at how this messaging app,
Right.
known for being very privacy-focused, has suddenly become a billion-dollar business. And we've got a mix of news articles and some expert analysis lined up.
Very cool.
So this will be a pretty fascinating look at Telegram's journey.
It is really quite a paradox when you think about it.
Yeah.
They built their reputation on, being the anti-Facebook,
Right.
rejecting all those ads and, the data harvesting. And yet they've managed to turn a profit.
Yeah.
It seems like without compromising their core values.
Yeah.
At least not entirely.
Yeah, it's a head-scratcher, for sure.
Yeah.
So Telegram's founder, Pavel Durov,
Right.
announced that they hit over $1 billion in revenue this year.
Wow.
Their first profitable year since launching. They've got a massive user base of over 950 million worldwide.
Wow.
And are sitting on $500 million in cash reserves.
Yeah.
And that's not even counting, any crypto holdings or anything like that.
Right.
And it's crazy to think that they only started monetizing back in 2021.
Yeah, it's really remarkable.
Yeah.
And the fact that they haven't just relied on that typical,
Right.
data-driven advertising model.
Yeah.
They've really focused on premium features and a more curated advertising approach.
Yeah, Telegram Premium offers some really enticing perks.
Yeah.
Like larger file uploads,
Oh, nice.
faster downloads,
Like that.
exclusive stickers,
Oh, fun.
even voice-to-text conversion.
Oh, wow. That's handy.
It's fascinating that people are actually willing to pay for these features.
Yeah.
I mean, their premium subscription service already boasts 12 million users.
Wow.
But then on top of that,
Yeah.
their advertising revenue has also skyrocketed this year.
Really?
They're attracting bigger brands like Samsung
Interesting.
and are even exploring revenue sharing on high-traffic channels. So,
This raises a pretty important question.
yeah.
Can they actually keep this up? If they go too heavy on the ads,
Yeah.
they risk alienating that core user base, who are drawn to Telegram because of that clean interface and the emphasis on privacy.
Yeah, it's a tough line to walk, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to a rather intriguing,
Yeah.
maybe even controversial chapter in Telegram's story.
Oh,
Cryptocurrency.
yes. This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Telegram's history with crypto has been, we could say, turbulent.
Yeah, turbulent's a good word for it.
Remember that $1.7 billion they raised back in 2018
Yep.
for their own blockchain project?
Oh, yeah, the one that got tangled up with the SEC?
Precisely.
Yeah.
The SEC deemed it an unregistered securities offering,
Right.
which led to this really messy legal battle. And they actually had to return most of the funds,
Wow.
which left some investors,
Yeah.
quite disgruntled.
Yeah.
It was a big setback for them.
For sure.
But here's the twist.
I think they've been quietly leveraging crypto
Oh,
to bolster their finances.
okay.
Sources suggest they've sold off hundreds of millions of dollars worth of digital assets this year,
Real.
including Toncoin,
Ooh.
which was initially part of their blockchain project.
Wait, so Toncoin is still a thing?
It is.
I thought that project was dead in the water.
It is,
Oh.
but not in the way you might think.
Okay.
It's now run independently of Telegram.
Okay.
However,
Yeah.
the fact that Telegram held on to a significant amount of Toncoin and then strategically sold it off
Yeah.
is pretty telling.
So they're playing the crypto game even after that whole SEC debacle.
It seems that way.
Yeah, they're not just dipping their toes in the water.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
taking a bit of a plunge.
Yeah.
They've even incorporated features that allow users to mine and exchange cryptocurrencies directly through third-party apps on Telegram.
It really makes you wonder about their long-term strategy.
Yeah.
Are they simply looking for these quick profits?
Or are they laying the groundwork for something much bigger?
Yeah.
Perhaps they see crypto as a way to achieve true financial independence
Yeah.
and further distance themselves from traditional financial systems.
That's a great question, and it
Yeah.
ties into another layer of this story.
Okay.
The arrest of Pavel Durov in France earlier this year.
Oh, right.
The charges were failing to curb illegal content on the platform.
Yeah, this incident really throws a wrench
It does?
into that whole privacy above all else narrative.
It really does complicate things.
Yeah.
It seems like Telegram has become a haven for,
Yeah.
well, let's just say unsavory content. We're talking about child exploitation, drug trafficking, even terrorism-related material.
Right.
Some argue that Telegram's hands-off approach has allowed this kind of
Yeah.
dark underbelly of the internet to flourish.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Durov has defended Telegram's stance,
Right.
arguing that they prioritize user privacy and freedom of speech. They've resisted calls for backdoors or blanket surveillance,
Right.
arguing that those measures undermine secure communication.
Yeah.
But this arrest in France suggests that stance might not be sustainable
Right.
in the long run.
Especially with governments are becoming increasingly concerned about all this harmful content online.
For sure.
And they're really putting the pressure on platforms like Telegram to take more responsibility.
Yeah, it's a classic dilemma.
It is.
On the one hand, there are legitimate concerns
Yeah.
about criminal activity and the need to protect vulnerable users.
Right.
On the other hand,
Yeah.
you've got the risk of censorship and government overreach,
Right.
potentially stifling free expression
Yeah.
and eroding privacy.
It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah, they need to tread carefully
Agree.
if they want to continue to grow and attract a wider audience.
Especially because mainstream advertisers and investors, they're not going to be thrilled about being associated with a platform that's constantly making headlines for hosting illegal content.
And we need to remember that Telegram is still a relatively young company compared to the giants like Facebook or Google.
Right.
They're still figuring out their place in the world, both from a business and a societal perspective.
Absolutely.
So what does all of this mean for users?
Right.
Well, it means the future of Telegram is still very much up in the air.
Yeah.
A lot hinges on how they handle these legal challenges, how they balance their commitment to privacy with the demands of regulators and advertisers, and how they continue to evolve their business model.
Here's where things get even more interesting, though. Some investors see these crypto maneuvers and legal challenges as potential opportunities. They believe that Telegram's unique position as a privacy-focused platform with a massive user base could make them a major player in the future of decentralized finance.
Okay.
And something called Web3.
Web3.
Yeah.
Now, that's a term I've heard thrown around, but I'm not entirely sure I understand it. Could you break that down for me?
Of course.
And for our listener, of course.
Absolutely. Okay, so imagine an internet where users have more control over their data and their online experiences.
Okay.
That's the essence of Web3.
All right.
It's a vision of a more decentralized internet powered by blockchain technology where platforms like Telegram could facilitate everything from secure transactions and data storage to censorship-resistant communication and community building.
So these investors are betting that Telegram could become a hub for this new decentralized internet.
They see the potential for Telegram to evolve into something far beyond just a messaging app.
That's a pretty bold vision.
It is.
But is it realistic?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can Telegram actually pull off this transformation and become a leader in the decentralized web while also navigating all those complexities of the traditional tech world?
That's a billion-dollar question for sure.
Yes.
And to answer that, we need to look beyond the headlines and consider the broader trends shaping the digital landscape.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're seeing a growing awareness of the importance of data privacy and the need for more user-centric platforms.
For sure.
At the same time, blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies are gaining mainstream acceptance.
They are.
Offering new possibilities for decentralized applications and services.
Right.
So you're saying that Telegram could be perfectly positioned
I think so.
to capitalize on these trends.
Yeah.
They've got the user base, the privacy focus, and the crypto experience to potentially become a major player in this emerging space.
Precisely.
But it's not going to be easy.
No, it's not.
They'll face stiff competition.
They will.
From those established tech giants, as well as this whole wave of new startups,
Right.
all vying for a piece of the decentralized pie.
Yeah, and they'll have to overcome those regulatory hurdles and legal challenges that come with operating in this often uncharted territory.
It's a high-stakes game for sure.
It is.
And it's only just getting started.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
Telegram's story is far from over.
I agree.
It's a story of innovation, disruption, and the ongoing struggle between privacy and profit in the digital age.
Absolutely.
And it's a story that you as a user are a part of.
In the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we'll explore some of the potential scenarios
Okay.
for Telegram's future.
All right.
We'll analyze the challenges and opportunities they face and consider what their success or failure could mean for the future of online communication and the balance between privacy and profit in the digital world.
So stay with us as we continue to unpack this fascinating story.
Please do. So we were just discussing how Telegram is walking this tightrope, trying to balance their commitment to privacy with all the demands from regulators and the need to, attract advertisers. It's a delicate dance.
It is.
And it's made even more complex by their, foray into the world of crypto.
You mentioned Telegram Premium earlier.
Right.
And I think that's a good example of how they're trying to thread that needle or offering those enhanced features and an ad-free experience for those who are willing to pay while still, maintaining a free tier for everybody else.
It is a clever strategy, but I do wonder if it's going to be enough to satisfy both, users and investors in the long run.
That's a key question.
It is.
And it ties into this whole idea of Web3 that we touched on earlier. Telegram seems to be positioning themselves as a potential gateway to this new decentralized internet where users have more control over their data and their online experiences.
Yeah. But for those who aren't familiar with Web3, it can sound a bit like science fiction.
It does feel a bit futuristic.
Yeah.
Can you give us a concrete example of what Web3 might look like in the context of Telegram?
Absolutely. So imagine a scenario where you can send money to someone across the globe instantly and securely without having to go through a bank or pay those hefty fees. Or picture being able to store your important documents and files on a decentralized network where they're safe from censorship or data breaches.
Okay, so those are just a couple examples.
Yeah, just a few.
The possibilities that Web3 opens up.
Exactly. And Telegram, with its existing user base and focus on privacy, could be well positioned to become a hub for these kinds of decentralized applications and services.
That's a pretty compelling vision.
It is.
But let's bring it back down to earth for a moment.
Okay.
We've talked about the potential benefits of Web3.
Yeah.
But what about the risks?
Right.
Is there a downside to this decentralized future?
Well, there are always risks when you're dealing with these new and emerging technologies.
Well, of course.
One concern is that decentralization could actually lead to a fragmentation of the internet, making it harder to access information and connect with people.
Okay.
Another worry is that the lack of centralized control could make it more difficult to, regulate harmful content and prevent criminal activity.
It sounds like a bit of a double-edged sword.
It is.
More freedom and control for users.
Right.
But also potentially more chaos and risk.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to have these open and honest conversations about these issues. We need to weigh the potential benefits of Web3 against the potential risks and figure out how to create a decentralized internet that is both innovative and responsible.
And speaking of responsible innovation, we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Oh, what's that?
Telegram's legal troubles and the issue of illegal content on their platform.
It seems like they're facing this growing pressure to crack down on this type of activity. But they're also, resistant to compromising user privacy.
A tough balancing act.
It is.
How do they reconcile these seemingly conflicting demands?
Well, on the one hand, they want to maintain their reputation as this champion of privacy and free speech. But on the other hand, they can't afford to become a haven for criminals and extremists. If they don't find a way to address this issue effectively, it could seriously damage their brand and jeopardize their future growth.
It's a high-stakes situation.
It is.
But it's also a situation that a lot of tech companies are grappling with. We're seeing this growing tension between the ideals of a free and open internet and the need to protect users from harm.
Absolutely.
That's a complex issue.
It is.
With no easy answers.
And it's an issue that's only going to become more pressing as we move towards a more decentralized internet, who will be responsible for policing content?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And enforcing rules in a world without these central authorities.
Right.
How do we ensure that the benefits of Web3 are accessible to everyone while also safeguarding against the potential dangers?
These are questions that we need to start thinking about seriously.
We do.
And Telegram's experience offers some valuable lessons.
I think so too.
It sounds like Telegram is kind of a microcosm of the challenges and opportunities facing the tech industry as a whole.
I agree.
They're pioneers in many ways, but they're also facing some very real and difficult dilemmas.
Absolutely. And their success or failure could have, ripple effects throughout the entire tech landscape.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listener to ponder?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that Telegram's story is far from over.
Right.
They're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And the decisions that they make in the coming months and years could have a profound impact on their future.
For sure.
And perhaps even on the future of the internet itself.
It's a fascinating story.
It is.
And I'm really eager to explore some potential scenarios for Telegram's future in the final part of our deep dive. So we've explored Telegram's incredible journey from a privacy-focused underdog to a billion-dollar business.
It really is remarkable.
Yeah, they've definitely carved their own path.
They have.
Embracing innovation and challenging conventional thinking.
For sure.
But, as we've discussed, their future is far from certain.
It's true.
So let's delve into some potential scenarios for Telegram's future, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so imagine for a moment a scenario where Telegram successfully navigates these challenges ahead.
Right.
They manage to balance their commitment to privacy with the demands of regulators and advertisers.
Okay.
They stay ahead of the curve in terms of innovation.
Right.
And they successfully establish themselves as a major player in the Web3 space.
Yeah.
What does that look like for users like you?
Well, it sounds almost utopian.
Yeah.
Telegram becomes this haven for users who value privacy and security, offering that seamless blend of communication, decentralized services, and even financial tools, all without compromising their core values.
Yeah. It's a pretty compelling vision.
It is.
But as we know, the tech world is rarely that straightforward.
It's true.
So what about the flip side?
Yeah.
What happens if they stumble?
Right.
What does a less optimistic scenario look like?
Well, in a less favorable scenario, that increased scrutiny from regulators could lead to, costly legal battles and fines.
Right.
Potentially hindering their growth and innovation.
Okay.
And failure to effectively address that issue of illegal content could really damage their reputation, alienate both users and investors. And if they fall behind in this rapidly evolving tech landscape, well, they risk becoming irrelevant.
So they could either become this beacon of hope for a more privacy-centric and decentralized internet, or they could become a cautionary tale about the perils of rapid growth and the challenges of staying true to your values in the face of all this mounting pressure.
It's a really good way to summarize it.
Yeah, and their story is a microcosm of that larger struggle between privacy and profit, between innovation and regulation that we're seeing play out across the whole tech industry.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that the choices that these companies make have very real-world consequences for all of us.
They do.
And that we as users have a role to play in shaping the future of this digital landscape.
Exactly.
We can choose to support platforms that align with our values.
Right.
We can demand greater transparency and accountability from tech companies. And we can advocate for policies that protect our privacy and digital rights.
Well said.
So Telegram's journey highlights this fundamental question that we all need to grapple with.
What is it?
What do we want the future of the internet to look like?
Right.
Do we want a future where our data is constantly mined and monetized? Where our online activities are tracked and surveilled? And where our choices are limited by algorithms and corporate interests? Or do we want a future where we have more control over our digital lives, where our privacy is respected, and where we have the freedom to connect, communicate, and create without fear of censorship or manipulation?
Those are big questions.
They are.
And there are no easy answers.
But Telegram's story, with all its complexities and contradictions, provides a really valuable case study for exploring these issues.
It reminds us that the future of the internet is not predetermined. It's something that we are all actively shaping, one click, one download, one decision at a time.
So as we conclude this deep dive, I encourage you to reflect on these questions. Stay informed about this evolving tech landscape and make conscious choices about the platforms and services that you use.
Indeed. Stay curious, stay engaged, and stay empowered.
And remember, the future of the internet is in our hands.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive
into
the fascinating world of Telegram.